Hi, welcome to the lecture on EnvAdapt47 of animals. Now on this latter video on the reproduction and annual cycle, we will go more on the detailed mechanisms of annual cycle and how to tell the animals that okay, now is the time for reproduction. So the regulation of circannual rhythm might be related somehow on the circadian rhythm. So we know that, okay, in circadian rhythm, we have this suprachiasmatic nucleus. There we have these proteins, clock and what Tim and whatsoever, and they were interacting and then getting signal from the eye that, okay, telling that, okay, to keep the clock on time. But then we had also the night and day rhythm in the hormonal control, so we have the melatonin. And easiest way to have circannual rhythm or seasonal rhythm is that, okay, demultiplication of this frequency. So we have circadian rhythm and then counting the days to get the seasonal changes. Then another way is to have a sustained hourglass. So after winter comes the spring, after that comes the reproduction, and then autumn migration, and then winter. And if all these steps takes 4 months, then you have, 3 months, then you have a circannual rhythm ready. But actually, most probably, it's going with multiple oscillator. So you have circadian rhythms, and they are affecting on these long-term feedbacks, and these are together affecting on the seasonal changes. And the rhythms can be found in animals even when they are African. So because in birds, for example, that are migrating or having short reproduction, they have most probably very high circadian rhythm, but it can be found also in African stone chat that is kept 10 years in constant equatorial photoperiod. And as you can see that, okay, during the first year, the testicular white is large in January. And the second year, it's again in January, but on the third year, it's before the Christmas, so already in the October, etc. So it starts shifting, or it shifts all the time. And that's why during the year 12, it's been shifted over 3 years. So there is a temporal shift in testicular white and the moult. And this indicates that, okay, beside the circadian rhythm, there's also circannual rhythm, but this calendar is not very good. But let's compare this African stone shot and the European stone shot. So when they are kept in the 7-hour day length, they have similar cycle in the testicular size and on the molting. And then when this 7-hour day length is changed to very short day length, they are behaving differently. So in this African stone shot, it's not dependent so much on these day length changes. So the seasonal changes in testicular size and moult are maintaining. But in this European stone shot, it's lost. So the testicular white, the testicles are larger for the next 10 months or whatever, and even the moult is not changing at all. But even smaller changes, because 1 hour day length is very short. So even if testing small changes, it can affect on the gonad periods in birds, and not in the exotic animals but like house sparrows. So if they're kept in 3 hour longer time in darkness, they have longer photoperiod. But okay, over here you can see in the picture that okay, the testis wide and follicular diameter, there's some seasonal changes. So the testes are smaller in the March, but if you are having a little bit longer time in darkness, it will be smaller in January. Or if you are keeping them a little bit more in darkness, it has dramatic effects on the testicular size. So the rhythm is changing, and the rhythm is actually changed at the same time as the energy consumption is changed. So in this same experiment, they were saying that okay, the duration of the testicle or in the ovary size, the rhythm is changed. So it's not anymore 12-month rhythm; it's now on 10-month rhythm. But it's happening not at the same time that okay, the melatonin would be changing, but actually there's a drastic change in the oxygen consumption. So they are much more using the oxygen consumption is much higher when you are changing the photoperiod. But then there are also hormonal control of the seasonal rhythms, and one of them is prolactin. Prolactin is a peptide hormone that is released from anterior pituitary gland like everybody else, and the classical effect is that okay, it's released and affect on the milk production. But the same hormone is also used in fish for salt balance, and it's been shown that okay, if the prolactin levels are very high, it will limit the release of sex hormones. And actually, these receptors can be found also in adrenal gland and central nervous system. So there might be a lot of new things coming from prolactin area. And there's an annual cycle of the prolactin in these seasonal breeders. So when changing Syrian hamster from long daylight to short daylight, there's a dramatic drop in the prolactin concentration. But after keeping it in the short daylight, so meaning a winter time, there is a short daylight refractory. So the prolactin concentration starts rising again, and this will turn okay. The fur will turn also again in the winter mode. But then another example is that this prolactin levels is affecting on the horn growth in the soya goat. But now, again, when it's changing on the short daylight, the prolactin concentration will drop in the circulation. But if you are keeping it a very long time in the long daylight, so meaning a very long summer or never ending summer, the long daylight refractory happens. So meaning that okay, now the prolactin levels are going down and a little bit later up again. So there is a Kirk annual cycle in these prolactin levels if these animals are kept in long daylight all the time. And how they can work? First of all, the hormonal control affects in the circadian clock. So these clock genes are expressed also in the pituitary gland cells, and these cells have melatonin receptors. And these genes are regulated by the melatonin and affect that, okay, these have then seasonal changes. And the expression level is changed in these clock genes. So in the hamster, the PER genes are upregulated in the dawn, but in the dusk it's lower, and it affects then that whether they are in the long days or short days. And this sheep, now the interval between the PER and clock gene is changed. So it might be that there's more these proteins that are demanded in the circadian rhythm, or they are appearing at different time. So that might be that it's affecting either on the amount of the protein or the interval between the night and day genes. And then these animals can have summer phenotype and winter phenotype. And then this hormonal regulation can have effect on the seasonal changes. Because, well, we already learned that we have central nervous system, we have the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and then we have hormonal regulation like melatonin, and they can be important both. How to test them? Well, actually the only way is to have the surgery, but the good point is that in these animals, both the melatonin that was released from pineal gland, it's there quite easy to detect, and also this central nervous system that is giving you the prolactin from the hypothalamus and etc. That's also easy to detect. So it's a very simple surgery. And so in these sheeps, if you have removed the hypothalamus pituitary gland connection, it still continues to have this prolactin, high prolactin and this circannual rhythm of the prolactin. But if you remove the pineal gland, the circannual rhythm is lost. And the same thing can be also made by just implanting melatonin. So this means that melatonin is affecting directly in the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is not only regulated by the hypothalamus and central nervous system and circadian clock. So let's put all it together. So we have a suprachiasmatic nucleus and we have pineal gland, and we have learned in the daily rhythms that they were interacting. And it's affecting on the hypothalamus, on the gonadotropin releasing hormones, and this gonadotropin, this hypothalamus is then affecting on the luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, and they are affecting on the in the ovaries and in the testicles. But then we have prolactin that is having a circannual rhythm, partly because there are changes in the melatonin. And then this prolactin is limiting the testosterone, estrogen production and release of these follicle stimulating hormone or luteinizing hormone, and the release of these hypothalamic hormones also. So actually then we have daily rhythm and also the seasonal rhythm in this same picture. Thank you.